Separation of duties protects the pipeline from invisible shortcuts. Developers should not be the only deployers of their own code to production. Approvers should not be able to bypass gates they reviewed. In healthy systems, promotion rights sit in a release role distinct from development, and production credentials are bound to automation that requires prior approvals to exist. An assessor expects to see role assignments, enforced branch protections, and deployment logs showing which service account moved the artifact and which human approvals unlocked that step. If a scenario tempts you with "trusted senior engineer pushes directly under rare circumstances," remember the assessor's rule. Rare exceptions are where breaches hide. The stronger answer implements guardrails that even a senior engineer must pass through, leaving recordings and tickets that can be sampled without special knowledge of the team's norms. Not all changes have equal weight, so classification matters. Standard, minor, major, and emergency categories map to different gates, evidence, and timing. Emergency paths must still be documented. You capture purpose, approvals appropriate to the hour, the artifact moved, and a post-implementation review that either blesses the outcome or restores prior state and schedules a safer attempt. The trick for the exam is to favor flows that compress latency without deleting proof. A crisp emergency runbook names who can approve during off hours, limits change scope, and requires a daylight review within a fixed window. Evidence for one emergency change should read like any other: a ticket with timestamps, approvers, health results, and rollback standing by, even if unused. Expediency is not the enemy. Undocumented expediency is. Provenance is the backbone of trustworthy releases. Deployments must pull from tested artifacts with checksums and signatures that match what passed in non-production. The what in production must be the what that passed tests. Evidence includes a build manifest, cryptographic digests, signed packages, and a promotion record that binds artifact ID to ticket, environment, and time. When a scenario offers rebuild from source at deploy time for freshness, remember that freshness without equivalence breaks assurance. The exam will reward artifact promotion models that make tampering obvious and accidental differences impossible. Integrity checks at deploy time and again in a post-deploy verification step turn provenance into a living control rather than a policy paragraph buried in a handbook. Change windows and communications keep surprises local and expectations shared. Scheduling within approved windows reduces business shock. Clear notifications give stakeholders time to prepare. Impact assessments convey what customers might see and how long. Assessors will look for a maintenance plan attached to each ticket: timing, service impact, contact trees, and success criteria. They will also expect to see evidence of notification, even if recipients are internal. When the question pits "we deploy whenever the build is green" against "we deploy in windows with notices and impact notes," the exam leans toward the latter for systems in or near the CDE. Controlled cadence is not theater. It is how you keep operational noise from masking real incidents. And it is how you prove that risk was owned and announced before it was taken. Non-production validation is where ideas earn the right to ship. A credible pipeline requires that builds pass automated tests, security scans, and policy gates before promotion. Passing must mean defined thresholds met, coverage targets, zero critical findings, accepted medium findings with documented compensating controls, and the outputs stored with the artifact. From an assessor's view, the absence of a failing gate is not proof of success. Stored reports and signed gate results are. The PCIP exam favors answers that align promotion to evidence. You promote because tests passed and controls validated, not because the calendar says Friday. When environments mirror production in relevant ways and promotion reuses the same automations with environment-specific parameters, you reduce drift and increase the value of your evidence. Monitoring during rollout turns hope into feedback. Health checks should be defined in advance, measured continuously during deployment, and wired to automated abort criteria that stop or roll back when errors cross thresholds. The ticket should name the checks, the thresholds, and the rollback triggers, and the release tooling should record decisions made by policy rather than by gut feel. Afterward, a short verification note ties expected outcomes to observed metrics, such as latency bands, error rates, or security control status. Assessors will ask to see one deployment where a gate fired and rollback occurred, proof that the program can say no on time. On the exam, prefer answers that make rollback a tested mechanism with clear triggers rather than a general intention to revert if needed. Closure is a decision backed by evidence, not a calendar event. A change ticket closes when the system can show logs of the deployment, screenshots or configuration diffs of the new state, metrics that meet the success criteria, and a verifier's acknowledgement that expected outcomes were met. If the change modified a control, say a firewall rule or authentication setting, the closure record should include the validation step that reasserted compliance. The assessor's habit is to pick a closed ticket and ask for its artifacts. The exam's preferred answer anticipates that habit with explicit, easy-to-find attachments. Done is the weakest word in governance, unless it means done and documented. When deployments misbehave, the program learns. Post-implementation reviews are required for incidents, rollbacks, or deviations. The review should state the timeline, root cause, contributing factors, and the specific improvements to code, tests, gates, or communications. It should also note whether any PCI DSS control slipped and how it was restored. Assessors will look for corrective actions with owners and due dates, not essays. The exam rewards answers that turn surprise into system change. A gate updated so the same failure is recognized earlier. A runbook clarified so the next response is tighter. A metric added so silent drift becomes audible before customers notice. Metrics make change management visible and improvable. Change success rate tells you how well your pipeline prepares releases. Mean time to restore shows how quickly you recover from trouble. Emergency change percentage reveals whether planning is healthy or reactive. Strong programs segment these metrics by system class, environment, or team and review trends in governance forums. The artifacts are dashboards, monthly summaries, and issue backlogs linked to metric movements. On the exam, choose designs where metrics drive action rather than vanity reporting. Numbers that do not alter gates, windows, or staffing are theater. Numbers that trigger tuning are governance. Auditing keeps stories honest. Quarterly, sample a set of changes and reconcile them against configuration management databases, inventories, version control histories, and runtime truth. The question an assessor asks is simple. Did the deployed state change exactly when the record says it did, in exactly the way the record describes? Reconciliation that catches drift, unrecorded hotfixes, or undocumented configuration tweaks becomes a learning loop, not a blame exercise. Evidence includes the sample list, discrepancies, and remediation notes. The exam will point you toward answers that make auditing a routine with owners and dates, because only routines generate predictable trust. Governance is not a blocker. It is a map that prevents you from getting lost. Mature teams treat the map as shared infrastructure. Tickets are clear because future readers matter. Approvals are real because risk has a home. Artifacts are signed because provenance is non-negotiable. Windows are expected because customers deserve notice. Tests and gates speak in thresholds. Rollbacks are scripted. Closures prove outcomes. Reviews change the system. Metrics move decisions. And audits reconcile story to state. The Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS, recognizes this pattern because it converts "we think we are safe" into "we can show how we stayed safe." For the PCIP exam, keep translating convenience promises into evidence trails. The best answer is the one that a reviewer can recreate without privileged friendships or oral history. Close with one immediate assessor-grade improvement. Select a pipeline step today and add a mandatory security approval gate. Bind it to a specific signal, such as no critical findings in dependency scan or no failed authentication control checks, and require a named security approver to sign when exceptions are warranted. Store the gate result, the rationale, and any compensating controls in the change ticket, and ensure the deployment automation halts without that record. Announce the gate, run a pilot on a low-risk service, and schedule a sampling review in a month to confirm evidence quality. That single change captures the governing idea of this episode. Risk is acceptable only when someone with authority accepts it in writing for a defined reason at a defined moment with proof that the system obeyed. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.